Hey guys, my name is Carlene. I did a research project regarding the relationship between positive affect and COVID-19 behaviors, specifically regarding the social interaction questions. So for my introduction section, I addressed some previous research that has been conducted that supports how the social interactions in someone's life and the maintenance of strong social relationships actually contributes to feelings of happiness and well-being. Some examples of this social behavior is human-to-human interaction, attendance to a populated place, or even feeling the warmth from a physical touch. However, little is known about the relationship between feelings of positive mood and social interaction as a behavior during the occurrence of a society-altering event, such as a global pandemic. The primary objective of my research was to identify a relationship between positive affect and COVID-19 social engagement behaviors of college students during a period of restricted social activity. Now, this restricted social activity is attributable to the coronavirus mandates and transition to online schooling. My hypothesis was that people who possess feelings of positive affect by rating high on positive emotion words may also be predicted to engage in more COVID-19 behaviors pertaining to social activities. The null hypothesis, however, was that people who engage in social interaction do not differ in positive affect at all compared to those who do not engage in social interaction. So the participants included those enrolled in the spring 2021 semester term. It was approximately 16 weeks at the University of South Florida. The majority of the sample consisted of third-year, non-Hispanic white students who identified as women around the age of 20 years old. These students had to be attending the psychology course Research Methods in Psychology with the instructor Dr. Bornovalova, and if you were not a qualifying undergraduate student and enrolled in the proper course, then that was the exclusion criteria. There were two measures in the study, the first one being positive affect. This positive affect measure was recorded using the positive affect and negative affect schedule scale, also known as PANAS. It is a type of mood scale to represent both positive and negative emotion ratings. On February 22nd, 2021, I recorded the Cronbach's alpha or internal reliability of the PANAS scale, and it was a 0.91, which is pretty significant. It shows that the items in this scale relate correctly with one another. I also conducted a test-retest reliability, which was poor because, as can be expected in the time span of 1 week, emotions are going to change. The second measure was social interaction pertaining to COVID-19 behaviors. This is measured using the COVID-19 risk behaviors questionnaire, and the Cronbach's alpha of this questionnaire was approximately 0.7. Now we get to discuss the methods section and how we actually executed the study. At the beginning of the term, the participants were recruited by assigning the completion of one baseline survey and a consecutive daily survey as a mandatory course grade qualifying as class credit. The demographic data was derived from the baseline survey, and the positive affect and social interaction data came from the daily surveys. For positive affect, we used the PANAS scale on the daily survey, and for social interaction, question 2 and question 3 in the COVID-19 risk behaviors questionnaire was utilized. Now, question 2 addresses whether the person attended a gathering of 10 or more people, and question 3 asks if the person visited family or friends in person. They were both yes or no questions. For statistical analysis, a descriptive analysis was first done for positive affect, where the measure of mean standard deviation, number of responses, first quartile and third quartile values were derived on February 2nd. Furthermore, the frequency of yes or no answers to both question 2 and question 3 pertaining to the social interaction measure was also derived on February 22nd. For the primary analysis, a correlation was run between the frequency of yes responses to question 2 and question 3 in relation to positive affect score. Additionally, the t-test and regression were run using Excel to determine the statistical significance of the data values and to create a 95% confidence interval. So here's all the data information for the positive affect and COVID-19 social interaction behavior descriptive results. It just shows what we discussed previously, mean standard deviation, number of responses, first and third quartile values, and also the frequency of yes answers to both question 2 and question 3, and the total number of responses. So unfortunately, all of the primary results came out to be insignificant. So the correlation between question 2 and positive affect was insignificant with a weak correlation. Here are all the numbers here. It was negative 0.07, so it's essentially negligible. And the same outcome is present for the correlation between question 3 and positive affect. The p-value is just greater than 0.05, therefore it was not statistically significant. The correlation could not be applied. And this one was an even weaker correlation with a negative 0.03. In conclusion, there is no relationship between positive affect and social engagement as a COVID-19 behavior established in this study. This is because the correlation was not deemed statistically significant and the values were so small and approximated to essentially zero that the correlation is negligible. However, if the correlation was significant, one could say that the participants were less likely to report positive feelings of emotion when they were also more likely to engage in social interaction regarding whether it was with a large crowd of people or visiting family members or friends. The limitations for statistical validity include a reduced sample size. This is because only a single college course participants from that were used, and also the data set was very small because only one day of the study period was analyzed, February 2nd. For an external validity limitation, there was a lack of generalizability of the sample to other age groups, people with different economic, educational, or social status, or this time period simply could not apply to other time periods because we are in a global pandemic still, and in previous studies, those are kind of relatively normal. For the construct validity limitations, there may have been poor operationalization of social interaction because in the study it was compared that the construct of social interaction could be measured by seeing if the participants attended a place with a lot of people or visited family or friends. Due to COVID, maybe participants had other forms of social interaction such as using cellular devices or social media to communicate with others and keep their ties intact. For an internal validity problem, without experimentation, you really cannot establish internal validity in a correlational study such as this.